What up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. It's me and Shane. What up, Shane?
What up, bro?
We're back at it.
Yes, sir.
And I asked you earlier, man, you get slowing down at work? I am.
Man, we're not. I don't see us slowing down, really, regardless of what happens with the election. Sad to say, Democrats, when they hold up all the drilling and all that on federal lands and offshore, it's good for private producers that produce on privately held lands. But, I see a lot of other more regulation making things more expensive, all of that coming down the pipe for sure. It's going to get hard on a lot of industries.
I heard somebody call in, I think, the K-Well the other day talking about that their son works for some company. They're already doing with the fracking. Their pumps they're going all electrical and all this other stuff.
Oh, yeah. They got electric drilling rigs. Talking about drilling 10, 15, 18,000 feet with electricity.
Are they quiet?
They're quieter than the regular rig, than the old rigs run off of diesel and stuff.
Interesting. I just wonder about those because I remember I went to one rig where they didn't have nobody on the deck. They said,
"Oh, fully automated."
Yeah, they're like nobody's on that rig, and it's a certain rig. It has a TikTok, I think, but you couldn't take no pictures. It said no pictures or videos available. That's another problem too, man. I wish that I could do more content out there in the oil field, but a lot of these leases are privately held leases. Yeah, I mean you can, but I think it's gonna bite you in the butt. Because I've seen people making content and. Last thing I want to do is be on somebody's lease on a battery pulling a load, making a TikTok, and they get pissed off that their lease is being, going 100,000 views or whatever, And I'll be the same way if that's my well. Right. I don't want my well to be showcased to anybody, but.
Yeah, that's actually a lot of companies
they have
a policy, no social media on those.
And I think that's why maybe they don't really get to see a lot of what we do. But anyways, we're on the show right now, Shane. Hopefully everything's been going good with you, brother, and everybody watching. We thank you for tuning in. What's the first topic of the night, Shane? Well, the hurricanes, Milton.
I hate to use this phrase, but I'm just blown away, disgusted with what we're seeing still coming out of North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia.
Now Florida.
And now Florida's fixing to get it. I've got a cousin that he lives in Florida. Looks like it's a little bit outside that zone where it's going to hit. He's a little up, not quite in the panhandle. And they've been so swamped with rain. They're praying to stop the rain, which that's hard for us to imagine out here. I've had a couple of times where we got 5 or 6 inches in 10 hours, and that was miserable. But then that only happens every once in a blue moon,
And I've seen videos, Shane, where they're walking chest high in their house, bro.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine? I mean, when I spill coffee or something, it's one thing.
Yeah.
But imagine you walking in your whole house, Shane, and people watching, and your whole house is just flooded, bro. Your pictures on the wall.
All your stuff. Think about all the stuff in your house, everything, mementos, food, shoes.
Your electronics, everything that you try to take care of.
Dog bed.
Someone made a post and they shared, I think, Myra Flores, she's a big conservative Latina from Texas. They said that the things that you are, that you covet or you wish for, or I forgot that you have, people are praying, to even be surviving because all that stuff's gone. I forgot, it's something along them lines. She made a real good post and it made a lot of sense. And I even thought, man, if you've got money stored away too, it ain't going to do you no good underwater.
Yeah. And something that got my head right in life and made me think about these things, and kind of to the point that Myra's making with that post. A lot of times out here, we think we got problems and issues, and then something like that happens, and we realize, we got a lot of inconveniences and things like that, things that we could have them another way if we had our choice, but those are real problems. I mean, they're still finding bodies, there's still people missing. And this is 2024 in the United States of America.
I'm gonna be honest. Just the way Kamala's handling it is horrible. She actually went on a kind of a degenerate podcast. The days that she was the citizens of North Carolina and all these states were suffering the worst, she was on the couch doing the podcast. And I had posted that on my Facebook page, and come to find out it was true. The podcast came out, horrible numbers. This woman, I honestly don't believe that she's going to win, but then again, we know how everything goes. I'm going to be careful with my words here. But she's on a podcast, very smug, laughing, and there's the American people suffering. You know, and it just shows you the disconnect with the politician like that compared to the people that are actually, you know, out there living in very miserable conditions with this hurricane. And then the money they offer is $750, you know, a person. When I know people in Florida from the last hurricane season that they never got nothing really. They lied. The government basically lied, said they're going to help. They didn't help. But there we are sending more money to foreign countries, Shane. I think that's hella disgusting.
I think at this point, we know, it's general knowledge, they do whatever they want with the money. They help who they want to help. But almost every bucket of money that they have, there's some recirculation, if you don't want to call it laundering money, but it recirculates into companies and NGOs that their family members run or work for. You know, that's like the old Pelosi deal with her husband. You know, he bought all that land with a government grant for the rail train, the speed train in California, and then he sells it to another politician's spouse who bought it with another government grant, and then he sells it to a private company. I mean, they both of them made, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars in profit off of something that they bought with government grants. You know, it's one of them things that it's so widespread and so disgusting. There's a part of you that doesn't want to believe that kind of stuff can be true. But when we see these people, you know, I saw a deal the other day. It said 2022's gross, you know, revenues for the U.S. government was over $40 trillion. $40 trillion. And, you know, we think about, oh, well, we're going to give $5 billion for wildfire relief in California or $1 billion for hurricane relief. Man, these people are spending so much money on so much nonsense. It's sickening, really.
I would say borderline, but I think it's just straight up criminal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my opinion is if you're in a position of authority, elected to a position of authority, you should be held to a higher standard. There should be, I mean, like right now, any privately held company, if you're doing something with a conflict of interest and you're benefiting through your position, a family member or close friend or whatever, that's it. You're done. You're lucky if you don't go to jail. And, you know, they got those special privileges in Washington.
Donald Trump, we're in almost $300 billion for Ukraine, and yet they're offering people $750 for the worst hurricane that anybody has seen. Thank God that Trump's speaking out about it. You know, it's a slap to the American people. You would think the government, I mean, I don't want to depend on the government for nothing, but damn, you would think they would be for the people for a catastrophe such as this. And there they are offering $750. I've seen videos, I don't know how true this is, of helicopters coming through. They say they're destroying supplies. Other people are saying that the churches in the city or, you know, I guess nonprofits and people in the community are actually bringing supplies to other communities, and the government's taking responsibility for that. I don't know how true that is, but that's kind of the rumor circulating. There's videos coming out with millions of views on YouTube of people saying that the government has done nothing for them. I mean, this stuff that we're seeing.
It's a perfect example of the administrative state. So FEMA will set up a designated spot and then try to commandeer all the supplies supposedly to inventory it. And for safety reasons, they want to make, you remember back in the 80s, they had a deal where somebody poisoned a bunch of Tylenol and put them in different bottles or whatever. And so some people were dying from taking Tylenol that had been poisoned.
Who was talking about that? Someone was talking about that.
So they justified retaxing, redistributing everything in the name of safety. And it you know, it's beyond absurd when you stop and think about it. Would that be horrible if somebody did that? Yeah, absolutely. But it's just as horrible, if not worse, that people were going without water and the basic, very basic necessities of life because of bureaucracy and red tape and process that they set up for them to get relief through these agencies.
It's horrible. Our thoughts and prayers are sincerely for the people in all affected areas. I heard last time it was like 200 miles per hour wind on Hurricane Milton. I posted a video. They're just leaving Florida as quick as possible. Uh, let's touch on this. I don't know what you think about this, Shane, but people are saying that this is modified weather. Now, what are your thoughts on this? I don't know if you believe any of this. I'm not saying I do. I find some oddities. That's all I got to say about that.
It is pretty odd, and there's a part of me that feels like we're giving the powers that be too much credit to think or believe that they could do that. But some of the things that we know they have, the technology that they have to use in war and espionage and things of that nature, I mean, it'd be hard to believe that they have those things. I mean, if you told somebody sitting in the chairs we're sitting in 60 years ago that they were going to make an airplane that couldn't be detected by radar or that you couldn't hear, something's going to fly at X speed so high that they'll be able to, they're there and gone before you even knew they were there. It's
good point.
I wouldn't say that it's definitely not impossible. The bigger question to me is, do I think that the establishment in the United States and the globalists would be willing to do that if they could? Absolutely. I mean, these people have shown they're willing to do anything. You go look at what we've helped France and other European countries do in Africa. They've basically set up a system where they have young children and women and everybody else working in cobalt mines and lithium mines all over the world, diamond mines for decades, and these people make in some cases you hear, 20 cents a day, 30 cents a day, and it's a bare subsistence to them, but it absolves all these crooks and exploitative people from having to be labeled slave owners or slave drivers. I mean, honestly, what they're paying those people is less than the value of what slaves received during the days of slavery. And obviously you can't put those in the same context because there's no comparison when somebody, regardless of how tough a choice that is to make to go work for 30 cents a day, than somebody that has no choice and is being forced by, the weight of the law and the barrel of a gun. But it's still, it's a disgusting practice. But that's why we see in Africa, all of these nations, we wonder why they have a revolution here, a revolution there, and constantly having all this warfare. And that's why, people get tired of it and they overthrow these people that are allowing the U.S. and Europe to do that.
And with that, I can't say too much more. I think in order to fix this country, I'm not going to say on here, but you know what I mean? The people are fed up, Shane, and it's a bunch of hard times on Americans right now. I would hope that people, not to politic for Trump right now, but I would hope people would realize they have to know and feel how bad it is. And I would think they would think with their pocketbooks and they would want to elect or vote for the person that, if anything, is not in there now. Kamala and them are very good with this, the way they project themselves, right? Blame it on Trump. But he hasn't been in office for 4 years already, 3.5. I would hope the people out there watching, hold this administration accountable for this, the despair that we are in currently, especially with the way groceries are, and not even just that, the way they're responding to these catastrophes, right? So I would hope that people realize that come, when it's time to vote. But back to what I was asking. So the modding of the weather, my point and stance on that is I'm more leaning towards it is possible. Because, or I'll say this, I think they can do something. If they're doing it right now, I'm not sure. I'm not going to sit here and make the statement that they are because I haven't done enough research and I don't know, but I have seen a lot of crazy content and videos on Twitter of all places. They show some weird activity, right? They show some planes flying around. They have a video out. Again, I believe it's possible. If they're doing it in this situation, I'm not sure, but we'll see. Let's segue now. Garth Brooks. Accusations come out. That's who it is, right? Yeah, Garth Brooks. Accusations come out. you have a good train of thought on this, but one of his former, I believe, stylists or somebody that worked for him are claiming that he SA'd her, right? Or him. I don't even know what it is at this point, but he's under scrutiny. Your thoughts on someone like him and allegations like this?
Whether it's Garth or not, I believe that every little niche of every industry, especially the entertainment industry, they've got their own little Epstein, their own this, and
P. Diddy.
Yeah, their own Diddy. It's like a business model for those people, like it's not enough for them to make money off of an artist selling records and creating music, but we have to compromise them to such an effect that we can control their tongue and what they do, where they go. I would not be surprised. I mean, Garth Brooks is a guy from Oklahoma. I think he's about my age. I cannot fathom how anybody that grew up the generation I did and knows the America that I know would have such a liberal, socialistic bent. And when I say liberal, I'm not talking about, the freedoms, the this, that. We're all that. We all love that. We all, freedom and liberty. We all love that. What I mean is the insane politics of not only are we going to teach kindergartners about sex and transgenderism and this and that, but we're gonna force your kids. We're gonna force you to send your kids to schools where we do this, and if you don't approve of it, your little confused 6-7-year-old, we'll take them away from you, and have you give them puberty blockers.
Come on.
Hormones, all this kind of stuff. I mean, people were crazy enough to do that. I'll tell you what, I seen a number today, said to be the worst number in like 40 years, something since Jimmy Carter. But it was 28%. 28% of the people they polled think America is on the right track. And
how many?
28%. So what that tells me, I've always been thinking it was about 45% that fully buy into all this craziness. What that tells me is it's closer to that 25, 28%. These people can't be helped. They can't be fixed. There's nothing that you can say. You can't explain it to them. And you can't even plead with them to say, okay, you can do whatever you want. Just leave my kids out of it. No. They feel like there's an imperative of their agenda, and it has to be pushed. And not only does it have to be pushed,
forced,
that you have to accept it and not even speak against it. So I mean, that's probably about right. 25, 28% of people, and you can't fix it.
Speaking of that, I call them reprobates. Romans 1 talks about that. You can't placate these people. You can't please them. There's no need to apologize to them. They want. It's like the devil. You give them a quarter inch, he'll take a mile.
Right.
So it's the same thing with these people you talk about. Pretty interesting number you gave there. Back to Garth Brooks, a former makeup artist, is claiming this, and he made a statement. We'll see what happens with Garth Brooks, but like you said, there's a Diddy in every niche, and they're out there. And I don't know if this is true. Every man's innocent until proven guilty. But I know that Garth Brooks, he's pretty woke, right? From what I've...
For a country star, he's about as woke as they get, and
that's sad.
I would say even if you never stepped out of Nashville, there's something like that going on. There's things like that happen. When people get super rich, people get super famous, they perceive themselves to be super powerful, untouchable, and you mix in, drug usage and abusing the right drugs. There's a reason we try to make sure our kids don't get on drugs, is because when you do, you make bad choices. People are going to make bad choices as it is, but it's a lot easier to make really bad choices, when you're doing those types of things and you feel untouchable.
Totally agree. That's why we preach, just dare, just don't do drugs or be sober minded at all times, and I think that's very important, especially in this day and age. But we'll see what happens with Garth Brooks, y'all. So Me Too movement, y'all. He believes in all that woke stuff, so we should believe all women. So I wonder how he likes that situation there.
Yeah.
Let's get into the hoarding. I posted some clips, Shane. The last the port workers strike didn't even last 48 hours. The guy got what he wanted. I made 2 videos. First one I was talking about, he's like a mafioso.
Right.
The second one I thought about it. I said, this dude is pretty smart because he had them bow down, love him or hate him. They actually somewhat bowed, and they gave him a 66 or something % raise instead of the 78, whatever he wanted, and they went back to work within 48 hours. And I made another video kind of commending him that, hey, I wish the truckers had somebody like this, because if you don't like him or if you like him, don't matter. He got the job done. Besides that, in those 24 hours, I would say people were going crazy. I seen it in my store. I don't know if you ended up seeing it out there where you were at in your city or your area, wherever you shop. But it was horrible, Shane, to see people acting like this. And then they're so ignorant to the fact, this is what they say, that the water and toilet paper of all things are produced actually here in the United States. So the port strikes were not going to affect us. But what I kind of noticed, and my takeaway from the whole thing is, that shows you the mind of man. Easily duped, ignorant, and when they operate in fear, it could be very dangerous, and it can also be a detriment to society and others, right? Because there is really no shortage, but they actually make the shortage happen because they act like that. So I seen men in Walmart walking around, running to get the toilet paper in the water, and it went viral. A couple other posts of people doing the same thing. Your thoughts on the way people acted during this last port shutdown?
I mean, history's chock full of examples of hysteria or whatever you want to call it. And it almost always starts with broadcasting, speaking, and saying these things. And the more they say them intentionally, the more people believe them. The more they believe them, the more they fear them. And when they get scared of something like that, same thing with food, groceries. I mean, you could say whatever item that you want to say, but it's a real thing. When you talk about the herd mentality, stampeding, and so to address that, there is a natural inclination. If we were all at the park, 10,000 people, and we're sitting there and we're playing Frisbee and these guys are, playing dominoes or whatever, if 5,000 of those people start running in one direction, other people are going to start running. No question. They're not going to look. They're not going to ask. But the reason for that is there's a natural inclination. We understand people run from danger in most cases.
What would you do, Shane?
It depends on the situation. I've been in a couple of those situations, and typically the first thing I do is look around and listen, try to pay attention, get out of the way, get on the periphery, don't get in the middle. It's one of those deals, you have to fight the natural inclination so you can make an informed decision. That's not an informed decision. That's an instinct. And unfortunately, when you have, the media, every media, I mean, you saw it on social media, heard it on the radio, TV, everything talking about port strike. This is going to do this. It's going to do that. There's going to be shortages of this, of all the necessities. People then they, brought up how people did in 2020 with COVID. It's a funny thing to me. My question for those people that do that would be, why don't you just go buy you a year's worth of toilet paper and a year's worth of water and keep it at the house? And no matter what happens, you don't ever got to go do that. You could go, I think prudent people, I consider myself prudent. I got plenty of water at the house, plenty of toilet paper at the house. And we don't got to go buy $600 worth of toilet paper at one time. When we go, we'll just grab another deal, one big pack. I guess some people, they wait till they get that crowd that something happens with the herd.
And I'm not saying I'm the same way, but even me, I'm like, so I told my wife, I said, do we need any? Because I mean, it's gonna obviously run out. She's like, no, we don't really need nothing. We're already in stock. She actually said, I'm glad I needed toilet paper a day before, and I went and got some before all this happened. But you would think, Shane, in an emergency, what are you getting toilet paper for? Like, that should be part of your last of your worries.
Right. My way of thinking about the toilet paper in particular is it's nice to have. People survive for 5,000 years without toilet paper.
It's a luxury.
Yeah.
Shane, someone commented on thing and said, man, I'll go walk to the McDonald's restroom and go wash my rear end in the sink. I'm like, damn, let's go. But I'm just saying, like, that they go crazy over the dumbest thing, yeah. Shane. But a fearful man like that, to be honest, is dangerous in my opinion, yeah. Right? And God forbid this world ever goes to crap. I think we're going to see some horrific things, right? The movies kind of show you. Neighbor against neighbor, if anything, right? Weirdo. I mean, it's just people trying to survive. But again, this crazy mentality, like you said, it's like the herd mentality, and they just go act out of, I want to say instinct, but I would even say just stupidity and ignorance, because my wife wasn't having it. Yeah. She wasn't falling for it. She wasn't getting afraid. She's kind of more stout than I was about it. Which I really didn't even care about it too much, but I noticed it. But she wasn't going to play that crap, especially from the Rona season, and now that happened that time. And but to say the least, people were acting crazy. Thank God the strikes are postponed till the 15th of January, and the guy got what he wanted.
It's awful coincidental, isn't it? 15th of January.
What is that date? I forgot.
Well, it's the week of the next inauguration. I do want to make a bold prediction though.
Uh-oh.
So old boy might have got most of what he was asking for. But there's a day coming. There's a day coming, and before it's all fully automated on those docks, there's a day coming where they pull this stunt and they march in. However many guys are striking, they're going to march that many illegal. They're going to march them in there, and in 72 hours, they'll have them trained up on the basics, forklift certified, crane certified. And those guys will never see another penny from those companies.
Well, Shane, what if it's not illegals? What if it's machines?
Well, it will be eventually, most of it. But even machines, people have to maintain the machines. People got to oil and grease them. People got to constantly, and you'll see this with software now. It's why we have computer glitches. You have to reboot a computer or reset a phone or whatever. People have to maintain that, update them.
For now.
Right.
Sooner or later, I think it's going to be pretty bad with the AI and with the automation. And real quick, I'm going to touch on this before we move on from the ports, but people are claiming that the reason why there's I got to put the little conspiracy in there, Shane, that they're saying they were hearing children's screams in containers, and people are believing that's why they want to have fully automated machines, because the machines are not going to, detect that or care if there's a person or persons inside of a container. Your thoughts on, because that be a possibility?
I don't think that's the case right now. That could be a possibility. I mean, we don't have to go very far in conjecture to say, could this happen? Would that happen? Like, we know something like 2,000 kids a day go missing in the United States. It's some kind of crazy number. Just little kids that have come across the border, there's something like 360,000 of them unaccounted for. They have no idea where they're at. I mean, sick people are doing things with kids. I absolutely believe there's something to the type thing, where they're getting these kids scared, getting their bodies to produce adrenaline in their blood and using that blood for some kind of high. Stem cells, all of that, bone marrow. Me and you might got to go through a lot of red tape and a long process if we need some bone marrow transplants or this or that. But I would imagine the elites of this world don't have to go through that same process. That's my take. Joe Blow, Nino, Shane, we're going to have to look high and low. But if you're the Joe Bidens, how do you think they keep these people alive? 80-something years old, doing this, doing that. Jimmy Carter, well, he looked like he's about at the end, at 100 years old. But, look at the George Soros of the world. That guy looks like he should have been gone 25, 30 years ago.
And speaking of Carter, though, I posted him on my Facebook. They're wheeling him around, Shane,
That's disgusting.
And they said that he's excited to vote for Kamala. I'm like, what the hell? And people said, I don't think this is a good taste, Nino. Well, I'm not the one wheeling him around. They're taking the picture.
That's what amazes me. I would tell you, anybody that I love that was in that condition
in the house.
Yeah, and I would try to take care, if they were cognizant and knew what they wanted for comforts or whatever, I would try to do anything in the world to comfort them, at that stage. But there is no way, no man wants to be remembered like that. I don't care who you are. If you think you don't have a problem being remembered like that and you think you're a man, both of those two things can't be true. Those two things can't be true.
That's disgusting, huh, Shane? How they're doing it, man.
It really is.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Anyways, I don't want to make light of it. This is messed up, but I didn't take the picture. I posted it, but it's posted everywhere. They got him. They're wheeling him around. He's halfway, looking like Biden. But I digress. Elon. Well, hold on. Before I go, Shane. Death Becomes Her. Remember that movie?
Yeah, I think I remember that. It's been a long time.
I think Goldie Hawn was in it, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
But the premise of the movie is they're super rich. The woman comes and sees them, or they go see the woman, should I say. She's like a witch or some weird, person in the elite world. And they give them the Fountain of Youth serum, for lack of better words. And I always think that these movies do have some kind of a reality in them that they show us, right? Maybe some kind of witchcraft where they put a spell on you, but they have to show it to you in order for it to work. I don't know. That's just kind of how I've always thought about this stuff. And the movies are very telling. In that movie, she tells him, I'm going to say this serum, crazy amount of money. They don't even show it how much it is, right? But she tells him, once I give this to you, you have, I think, 10 years. You're in the limelight. Your body parts come together. You look younger. It's basically makes you look very good real quickly.
Replenishes.
Exactly. But once these 10 years or 20, I forgot the exact limit. She said, once these years are up and over, you got to disappear. And no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but you got to go away. I don't care what you do, right? So the movie shows them getting this, and then they go mess up because they start beating each other's bodies, and it goes to crap, basically, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I noticed about that movie that I found very interesting and intriguing is that movie was released maybe 20 years ago. I'm not too sure. A long time ago.
Right.
And they were showing us things in that movie that I believe can still be looked at or applied to certain aspects of today's culture or even the conspiracy realm, for lack of better words. What are your thoughts about that movie, Shane? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, totally agree that there are things that they can do as far as rejuvenation and healing and restorative health that they're not telling us. They don't want us to know that. You got to remember, Elon Musk, you mentioned him a minute ago, he's pointed it out. There's a big sect of the global elite, the Bill Gates of the world and those people, they believe there's too many people. They don't want 8 billion people. They want 500 million people to inhabit the earth. And something like 480 million of them are supposed to be the workers who take care of the 20 million, super elites or super rich or whatever. It's a God complex these people have. And they feel no moral imperative to share that type of information or technology with the common people. But I absolutely believe that there are things, I wouldn't call it the fountain of youth per se, but I believe there's definitely things that they know to do, that the technologies they have, that restore health, rebuild body parts. I mean, we already know some of it with some of the stuff that's come from stem cell research and regenerative medicines and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a good point. And like you said, that movie's 20-something years old. So if they were touching on something and knew that this existed 20 years ago, how much further have they taken it? I mean.
And why do you think they would even show us that stuff, right? Like, kind of weird.
Yeah. I think a lot of times they show us stuff to mock us. And sometimes they show us stuff to confuse us. They love to confuse us. That's their biggest tool. Confusion is their biggest tool in their ultimate goal, of dividing us and keeping us separated from one another. Because we all want the same things. Anybody that's watching this, and probably half the people that are going to go ahead and vote for Kamala for president, they want the same things we want. Raise a family, be able to afford to raise a family peacefully, in a good community, get a good education for their kids, hopefully have something to leave them a little bit better off than they were. We all want those same things. The people at the top, though, I don't think they care one whit. They see all of us as expendable. If they didn't, they wouldn't be starting wars all over the world, and it doesn't bother them. Like literally Ukraine, there is no reason for that to be happening. It's pretty simple. With the stopping of the funding, they could tell Zelensky today, we made this agreement with Russia in 1991, and you are not going to be a member of NATO. That Crimean base that Russia will never give up, they're going to have it, and this is the end of it. There's the line. Done. It's over with. There's no reason to keep doing that.
War's a racket.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's a book, Shane, that I heard a preacher talking about, because he's not really a Trump, or some Christians ain't with Trump no matter what. And that's sort of freedom of opinion and choice, right? But he said that there's a book called War's a Racket, and somebody wrote it from there was a high level of military importance, and saying that they love to go to war, because people that make bombs and make all this stuff for war, they don't care where it goes. What do they care about? Right. They only care about
getting paid.
Getting paid. So war is a racket. Before we go down that line, Elon Musk, good guy or bad guy?
Everything I see of him, he's a good guy. Like a lot of people, like all of us, he's not going to get everything right. The fact that he stepped in and put a deal together to buy Twitter because of the suppression of free speech, and that's, to me, is one of the 2 or 3 issues that's dear to his heart, because he understands. He's from South Africa. I believe he was born in South Africa and raised in South Africa.
He's an African.
Right. But South Africa in particular, he knows what happens after the communist revolution. He knows how people lost all their property. They lost all this. Hundreds of thousands of people were murdered. All kinds of stuff. And he understands America being America. Those 2 things, the freedom of speech, to be able to point out and call out corruption and fraud and abuse of power, and the Second Amendment, the ability to do something about it, that's what makes this country. And Musk knows that. And, kudos to him, all the kudos in the world for getting Twitter. I know they still have, a lot of people working there that don't agree with everything on, with Musk on everything. And, some of them are extremely ideologically bent. There's still a pressure to censor and throttle real conservative thought and speech. But I mean, just the fact of the Twitter files, the fact that they exposed that the U.S. government through agencies and NGOs were going to all these social media companies saying, we don't want that, suppress that, ban that, that's misinformation, this, and this. The fact that we found out that they actively engaged in that, we would have never had that confirmed. It was a conspiracy theory, right?
But we knew they were doing it to us.
Well, right. But the actual mechanics of it.
The proof.
Right. Yeah. It would have just been another conspiracy theory without him buying Twitter.
Okay. He came out for Trump. He was at the rally. Amazing moment, right? It's badass. He's on our side. My thoughts on him, I like him. I find it kind of odd, though, some things about him. His mother, you heard about her, right. Kind of some weird situations. he has a Trump hat now on this profile picture. He had like some other kind of weird, they say some satanic symbolism in his other profile pic. I don't know how true that is, but I seen it. So I don't know if it was a costume or what. Him buying Twitter, though, if you think about it, right? Was it really for free speech, or could it have been, and this is what my train of thought on it, a gathering of information? Because if he ends up automating these robots, AI, whatever, he has a lot of data he can pull from of how the human mind works.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just saying, I just thought.
I can get that. I can understand it. And undoubtedly, he'll use that because he's smart enough to use that. But,
you don't think that's a problem?
Well, I don't think it was nefarious. I don't think that was the reason that he bought Twitter. I think the free speech issue is the reason that he bought Twitter.
Okay.
He was disgusted with what he saw happening. He was disgusted with how far this woke mind virus has gone. You know, when you see this affecting you personally, as a reasonable adult, we all understand this. There's a reason why you can't purchase a firearm under 18. There's a reason why you can't vote under 18. You can't buy nicotine till you're 21. You can't buy alcohol till you're 21. We know that they are not that children and adolescents are not mature enough and not even fully developed mentally and culturally to the extent that we want to put those types of things into their bodies and into their minds. And, you know, so that poison, when he saw that affecting his own life and his own children, he understood. And he also was one of, probably as far as notoriety, he's also one of the first to actually put it out there. Like you said a while ago, you can't placate these people. You can't make them happy. They're satisfied with nothing less than everything.
Right.
There's no, I'll go on your talk show and be nice and I won't say nothing about what I think. These people don't care about that. Case in point, the pronouns, right? Not only do they want to have society accept and through laws and all of this, that somebody can have pronouns, they're willing to put people in jail and fire them from their jobs. They think that's a good policy. My take on that has always been this: whatever you introduce yourself to me as, Nino, that's what I'm going to call you. If you introduce yourself as Cherie, I'm going to call you Cherie. David, I'm going to call you David. But don't ask me when my eyes tell me that you're a man to call you a woman. I'm not going to do it. You know, but that, you know, to that point, and I also believe this: none of us are finished products. Elon Musk is not a finished product. Mm-hmm. I'm thankful that he's on our side, and I will tell you. Let's just suppose what you were proposing was true, that he bought it for nefarious purposes, and that he had some kind of satanic imagery. Mm-hmm. Let's just go all out there and say he's satanic.
I'm not saying that.
No,
Saying,
right.
yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, let's suppose that he is.
Okay.
Right? God will use broken men. God will use
an ass.
Bad people. Yeah. I mean, to work wonders. So I always go back to this: by their fruit shall ye know them. Mm-hmm. Okay. So sometimes I think people may have bad intentions, but they work good in my life.
Yeah.
They don't mean to, but that's how it unfolds.
That's a good point.
Because God put them there for a reason. And, you know, it's I would just say, like I said, I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. The one thing I would touch on in relation to his support of Trump, I would say we as Christians have to understand we're not anointing somebody by voting for him. Mm-hmm. We're not doing that. We're not saying he's the second coming or he's a prophet or anything else. to run for president, what you owe me is to go out there and say that you will not force me to pay for somebody else's transition, to pay for somebody else's abortion. You will not allow the people that want to force me to pay for those activities to confiscate the firearms of free men and women in the United States who will defend my rights.
Good point.
You will not allow them to silence us. You not only will you not allow those people, but all of this, I believe, and you can check on this. I don't know if this is 100% accurate. I believe that NBC, CBS, all of them are publicly held corporations, right? They've received over the years tax deferments. Certainly, they receive ad dollars from the federal government because we see the military commercials and Army of One and all that. So they receive federal money. So, and I'm quite positive that in any contract the government has ever done, right, it says if we do business with you, you have to follow the laws of the United States, right? So my take on that would be, I said that to bring this up. Universities, news organizations, if you take a penny of federal money at any time in your existence, you cannot turn around and suppress somebody's speech, whether it's students, employees, even if you take tax breaks. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't think they should be taxing people or companies like they are. But being that they are taxing them, if you sign up for this tax break or this grant or whatever, you accept any benefit, then you owe an allegiance to that same thing, the right to free speech, the right to bear arms, freedom of association. It's really sickening to what degree corporate America, we see with Robbie Starbucks and all them exposing all this money that they've given to pride parades and trans awareness and all these things. It's really sickening more than anything else that they're willing to fire employees of long-standing, good employees that have been at some of these places for no telling how long, because they refuse to bow down and say what activists demand they say. Because the only worst thing that you can do, the thing that's worse than suppressing someone's speech is to force them through threat of violence or injury to say something they don't believe, say something they don't want to say.
Man, hell yeah. He comes out for Trump, Elon. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not really surprised, to be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, he left a home country that was destroyed by socialism and wokeism. You come to the United States, you have great good fortune. What opportunities that you find, you're able to take advantage of. It only stands to reason that you would have to stand up and support the only force, the only organized effort to resist the destruction of this country.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what they're doing. That let's don't be confused.
My thoughts on Elon. I like the guy. I'm glad he's on our side. I'm not gonna deny the fact that there's some things in his background that are, somewhat alarming. I think him buying Twitter is some part in free speech, but then again, I'm not gonna say it's for nefarious reasons, but I believe there's that
Selfish.
data. Well, I don't know if it's selfish. Maybe a good, smart business move. Because that data, he gets all that data, Shane. That's probably the most important thing. People don't realize when you're on Facebook, all these apps, when the apps and all that's free, you're the product.
Right.
They're getting all your information. They're learning how you swipe, how you wipe, type, and everything at this point, right? Because they're gathering information on you. So I would say him buying Twitter is probably going to be using it for his implementing of his robots later. What I have heard about him is he has factories that are building these machines, and I think in the end, and we'll wind it down with Elon. I want to talk about Magic Johnson momentarily, but what are your thoughts about Elon Musk, the machines, but not just that, but the rise of machines? Do you think there's some validity, speaking of movies, Terminator, right? T-2000, 4000, whatever, right? What's the chances you think of machines being used more and more, and in the end, turning on humans? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely, they're going to be used more and more.
Okay.
In the long run, it's cost efficient and time efficient. I mean, you can run a robot 24 hours a day. You can't run a human 24 hours a day. And people have more sympathy, most people do, for humans. If somebody comes and said, oh, man, they're working these robots 24 hours a day, who cares? Oh, they're working my cousin and my niece 24 hours a day. Hey, man, y'all can't treat them like that. But so, I mean, it makes perfectly good sense that any company with the capability and resources would automate as much as they can. What that's going to look like in the future, I mean, we don't know. Like you said, we've seen several movies, that talk about this and do this and kind of travel down that road. I do know this, that in a free society that's governed with the best interests of the people, it could only be a blessing. How many more men have to turn 35, 40 and can't go out and throw a baseball with their son, or can't jump in a pool and swim with their daughter, or, because they've worked hard, they've overworked, and in some cases, they're injured or maimed or whatever from their time in the workforce. I don't, like I said, I can't foresee how it's all going to unfold. I think at the end of the day, whether it'll probably be like everything else, there'll be a split. It's going to make some people incredibly lazy, where they end up never doing anything. Once they're old enough to make their own decisions, they sit in a chair, play video games, and eat Cheez-Its, drink soda, and that's all they do. We already got those people today.
That's like that movie Wall-E.
Right.
In the end.
Well, imagine what can happen when their chair, they can poop in their chair.
That's them.
And then a little robot carries it off to the bathroom and disposes of it. I mean, so, I mean, it's going to get, but for the people that aren't like that, it's going to give them more time to spend with their family, more time to do stuff, outside with their animals, the things they want to do. If they want to go fishing, they want to go surfing.
And I guess from your point of view, Shane, in the oil field, have you seen it being implemented and helping out people out in the field?
My opinion, it's amazing.
Whoa.
It's not only amazing what they can do, but what I find is where everybody fears that companies' first thought is, oh, good, now we got all this automated, we can fire 500 people. That's not what they're doing. They're retraining them to do other things.
Well, it's going to take a while before they get. I think sooner or later they are going to replace the workforce to a certain degree.
Right.
But you're right. It's not going to happen just like.
Right, but
or, I don't know.
You would be surprised, honestly. You would be surprised how these facilities and all this infrastructure works, how automated it actually is. But if you're looking for emissions, right, somebody has to go around and video and look for the emissions. When they find them, they have to report it. Somebody else has to receive a report and catalog a report. Another person has to go out there, get the cataloged, the find what's causing the emission, and they got to repair it. I mean, I've seen that over and over. I mean, even installing the automation, developing them, wiring them together, the electric for them, excuse me, but it's nobody's in a race to get rid of everybody. They are, everybody's trying to, if they're smart, they're trying to be more efficient,
save some money,
try to use less energy to produce the same outcomes, less resources to produce the same outcomes. At the end of the day, those people making those decisions, how and when to use automation, and when it does happen to reduce the total number of workers, those people are humans also. So we have to hope that those are humans more in line with Elon Musk than Bill Gates.
Good point. Last thing, let's fire off real quick. We run out of time. Magic Johnson, you see the clip?
I did see that,
What do you think about that, Shane? This dude, someone even made a good comment. So he's trying to tell black people how to, raise kids when they believe a failure, but they're saying that they think a black person said this. They think that he's trying to make it seem like black men don't know how to make their own decisions. Your thoughts on the viral clip?
Well, two things. I would start with the fact that Magic was married, and I love Magic, man. I know my generation, you think, and don't get me wrong, I like Larry Bird. Love Larry Bird as a player. It's fun to watch. But, man, that smile, that flow, bringing the ball up the court, I love Magic Johnson when I was a kid.
And you got to watch him, huh, Shane?
Yeah. And
damn.
To see that guy, he was married, comes up with HIV. I mean, that was 1991. Here we are 30 years later. He looks healthy to me, but so anyway, somebody who makes that poor of a decision to go out and get HIV while he's married. Then he has a son. His son turns into a wannabe daughter. That tells me that either he wasn't involved enough, or if he was, he just wasn't a very good parent. And, I go back to the same thing with the Diddys and the Epsteins of the world. Don't think that there ain't somebody, everybody loves to party. You're young and rich. You love to party. And these people do things at these parties. And I don't believe that all of them are free to make decisions and endorse who their heart might be telling them to endorse. Oh. If that was the case, let me ask you this. Let's go back to Nashville real quick. Supposedly, these are all good country folks, raised the right way, the right values, love America, patriots, all that. How many of them do we see endorsing Trump?
Many.
Not very damn many.
Yeah.
But they love this country. They're for the Second Amendment. They shoot videos with using firearms and such.
Well, I'll say it's more weird when you see them endorsing the left, right?
Well, right.
It's more crazy to see them do that. But you're right, yeah.
But so that tells me absolutely, if you're not endorsing them, right? But you're not endorsing Trump, well, then you don't have the same values I got. Because I tell you what, if you got the same values I got, your hair would be on fire. Because you understand, you can look and see the trajectory this country's on, and you can know that this is literally probably is the last point that this Democratic Republic can be saved. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm not sure that it can be, but I know damn well it can't be without getting Trump back in that office and the Elons and the Kennedys and all them helping him straighten out what they can with Big Pharma, the deep state intelligence agencies but with Magic, I would say, I think it has to come from that. He's been in LA for, 40, 45 years and that's his circle, celebrities and the elites.
Good point. With that, y'all winding down. I wish I had more minutes to expound upon that more, but I just say this final words for me is, I said it before, we're in dire straits in this country, and it ain't even to be political, but I think the person we need is Trump. Of course, God-fearing man, Christ is my Lord and Savior, but in the physical, as an American citizen, I believe this country's headed down the wrong route with the way the government's governing, for lack of better words, and we need Trump. Final word, Shane, go ahead.
If you're a Christian, you're not voting for a savior. We got a savior.
Amen.
We have a savior. You're voting for a president. And if you like what you've been getting the last 3 years, and if you like what you got for the 30 years before Trump's 4 years in office, you go on and do whatever it is that you think you got to do to keep getting what you were getting. But if you don't like the status quo of what's been going on the last 40 years, because that's how long we've been funding wars in every little country and every theater in the world.
Good point.
While we neglect Americans. If you understand that we need to put each other first and look out for each other and protect one another's freedoms, you got to vote for Trump.
With that, y'all, appreciate y'all. We're out of here.